The Miracle of Juliane Koepcke, A Tale of Survival. It was Christmas Eve, 1971. 17-year-old Juliane Koepcke and her mother, Maria, boarded LANSA Flight 508 from Lima, Peru. The plane was bound for Koepcke, a city nestled in the vast Amazon rainforest, where her father awaited them to celebrate Christmas together. The flight seemed ordinary at first, but nature had other plans. As the plane soared above the dense Amazon, turbulence rattled the cabin. Passengers grew anxious as dark clouds loomed ahead. Suddenly, lightning flashed across the sky, illuminating the terrified faces of those on board. A bolt of lightning struck the plane. In an instant, it began to disintegrate mid-air. Juliane sat frozen, her seatbelt tightly fastened. Before she could comprehend what was happening, the aircraft broke apart, and she was hurled into the void, still strapped to her seat. The roaring whines and deafening noise drowned out her screams as she plummeted from 10,000 feet. When Juliane awoke, she was lying on the jungle floor. The silence of the rainforest was almost deafening, broken only by the distant calls of birds and the hum of insects. She was alive, though barely. Her collarbone was broken, one eye was swollen shut, and her body was battered with cuts and bruises. Despite the pain, she forced herself to take stock of her surroundings. The dense canopy above had likely saved her life, cushioning her fall. But she was now alone in one of the most hostile environments on Earth. Juliane had grown up in the Amazon, where her parents, both scientists, studied wildlife. Their teachings came back to her as she realized she needed to find water. She recalled her father's advice: follow a stream. It will lead to a river, and rivers lead to people. She stumbled upon a small creek and decided to follow it. Her journey through the rainforest began. For days, she trudged through mud, her feet sinking with every step. The humid air was suffocating, and swarms of mosquitoes and flies attacked her relentlessly. She had no food except for a small bag of candy she had found among the wreckage. It was a meager lifeline, and she rationed it carefully, knowing it wouldn't last long. Her cuts became infected, and one arm swelled with maggots burrowing into her flesh. Despite the searing pain, she pressed on. Her nights were spent sleeping on the damp jungle floor, surrounded by the sounds of unknown creatures lurking in the darkness. On the 10th day, weak and barely able to stand, Juliane's resolve wavered. Her body was failing her, but her determination kept her moving. She finally came across a sign of hope, a small, wooden hut near the edge of the river. It was empty, but it gave her a renewed sense of purpose. Inside, she found tools and a can of gasoline. Remembering her parents' lessons, she poured the gasoline over her wounds to kill the maggots. The pain was excruciating, but it worked. She stayed in the hut, hoping someone would find her. The next day, she heard voices. A group of local lumber workers had returned to the hut. When they saw Juliane, they were stunned. The teenage girl, emaciated and covered in wounds, had somehow survived the impossible. The men tended to her as best they could and took her downriver in a canoe. Hours later, Juliane arrived at a small village where she was flown to a hospital. She finally reunited with her father, though the news of her mother's death in the crash was a heartbreaking blow. Juliane Koepcke was the sole survivor of LANSA Flight 508. Out of 92 people on board, she was the only one who lived. Her story of survival enduring a plane crash, a fall from the sky, and 11 days in the deadly Amazon rainforest is one of the most extraordinary tales of human resilience. Juliane later became a zoologist, dedicating her life to studying the rainforest that had both threatened and spared her life. Her memoir, When I Fell from the Sky, remains a testament to her incredible journey and the strength of the human spirit.